the Hassle. I'm Vic Faust of Fox 2 News. Thanks for joining us on this Monday, May 18th. It's 8:36, getting you rocking and rolling, ready for this weekend. Memorial Day weekend coming up, but we still got a lot as we're getting into this week, a lot of topics as well. The counties in the state of Missouri have been open in some capacity, 112 of them up until today. St. Louis City, St. Louis County joining the mix in some capacity, just kind of resetting the stage for you if you didn't realize or didn't know or listening to us in one of those areas. Hair salons, retail shops, restaurants are opening in some capacity with 6 feet social distancing asked in St. Louis City and St. Louis County. The bars are limited to curbside in the county unless they serve food. If they serve food, they're wide open as well. And in the city, the bars are fully open. And by the way, if you're not wearing a mask in St. Louis County, businesses can refuse service. But there's one thing I mentioned, or I did not mention, as a matter of fact. What didn't you hear me talking about reopening in that whole mix?
The casinos.
Well, we've already talked about that. June 1st for the casinos, not today.
Even for St. Louis County?
Casinos all over the state.
Gotcha.
All 13
right.
all 13 casinos in the state open June 1st. So that's coming up.
Workout facilities.
Workout
facilities.
Workout facilities, gyms, and private gyms and private studios. Some of the cleanest places you're going to find because they take care of it. Well, they don't have a date yet. And joining us now on the phone is Ted Theodoropoulos, the owner of Burn Boot Camp in St. Louis. He has been leading the charge of 30 gyms who wrote a letter to Dr. Sam Page on why they should be open and working. And Friday night on Fox 2, it was Fox 2 News at 9, as a matter of fact, on my show there, we led with this story. We did a story on them, let them have their say, and now we're joined by Ted to give us his opinion of what's going on. Ted, good morning. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
We're all right. We're grateful that you gave us some time. I know you have about 10 minutes before you have to get on with things. All right, give us an update. We know that you're trying to get back open, but in the meantime, we got an update from you. You said you got a meeting with Dr. Sam Page. What's going on?
Yeah, we sure did. So the numbers actually up to about 35, 37 gyms locally that have banded together. And we put together a letter to Dr. Page and outlined all of the processes, 22 of them to be exact, that we're following to maintain a very high standard of cleanliness within our gyms. My wife and I own 3 gyms here in the area, 2 in St. Louis County and 1 in St. Charles County, and we were able to open our O'Fallon store May 4th. So we have a very well-documented procedure. We've got a working model of what this could look like right across the river. And, we survey our members every Friday. We call it Feedback Friday. And since the pandemic started and we've been open 2 weeks, the last 2 Fridays, we've asked the question of how do you feel in terms of safety inside the gym, and another question around cleanliness. And we got 95%, so it's a scale of 1 to 10. 95% gave us a 10 on both, and then 5%, the remaining 5% were 9s. So our customers feel safe. When you guys did that story on Fox News, you interviewed 3 of our customers and asked them how they felt. They said they felt more safe than they do at a grocery store or Walmart or Home Depot, all these places that have been open throughout the entire pandemic. So we feel like we're doing a good job, and we're asking Dr. Page and the health department to carve us out. So, the big box gyms, I was up at Club Fitness and met with the CEO there. He showed me some of the things they're doing. They're doing a great job too, but they're different, right? They, in boutique fitness, instructor-led fitness centers like the one I own and the other 35 owners, we have a very high degree of control. So you sign up for a class. We open our doors, literally. We prop open our doors before class starts. We have contactless entry and exit. So the member walks in. They don't check in on the iPads like they normally do. They put their stuff in a cubby. We've got arrows taped on the floor. They walk right by the bathrooms. We ask them to wash their hands. And we have them do 20 calf raises while they're washing their hands, so they can get a little pre-workout there, get warmed up, and make sure they've washed their hands long enough. and then we direct them out onto our exercise floor where we have 6x6 taped grids, basically, and we stagger people, and we put them in every other one, and so people have a lot of times 12 feet between them. So it's very spread out, and when they're done with camp, we will have a maximum of one piece of equipment. They go and they put their piece of equipment in a staging area. When they're done with camp, they grab their stuff and they leave. And we close the doors. We sanitize the equipment. We sanitize the cubbies. Nobody comes in until that's done. Then we prop the doors open and we repeat. So it's a really good, clean process. We've got a working model, and the reality is, if you look at your casino example, I mean, that couldn't have been more perfect. Anytime you leave the house in a pandemic, you're trading risk for reward, right? So like the grocery store, you see people in these masks, and if they do happen to be sick, they're full of virus and bacteria. They're constantly touching their masks, and then they're touching food that you're then touching. There's no sense of community or responsibility. You don't know other people in the grocery store most of the time. The grocery store doesn't know who's coming in and out. So contact tracing is possible. So the risk is fairly high. But you know what? The reward is also pretty high, right? We all have to eat. You have to buy food. So that's a reasonable trade-off. Then you look at the risk-reward with casinos. The risk, casinos are full of touching. You're touching chips. You're touching handles on slot machines. Smoke-filled air. It's risk is very high in a casino. The reward,
I was waiting for the reward.
That's all right. I think, Ted, if you can hear us, give us a call back. We can't hear you from whatever happened. Are you there? Yeah, we lost Ted. Hopefully Ted will give us a call back from that standpoint. Starting to get
I get it. I'll tell you what, everything he was saying, there's no questions to ask. I get it. It was really interesting to see how they were going to mitigate inside themselves and sterilize all of this stuff.
Right. That's what's most important, because there's so many complexities into opening a gym. I mean, because of the viral load, you can't wear a mask. You really have to go that extra mile to make sure everything is sanitized.
Oh, sure. It's going to be very interesting. I guess it looks like we have him back on the line. He did, thanks to you, got a meeting with Sam Page, and I guess the question how reasonable do you think Sam Page is going to be to all this?
I don't know if it was because of the story that we did on Fox 2, but
come on,
hopefully
public pressure.
I just hope that Dr. Page has an open mind when he meets with them. Ted, thanks for getting us back. You were getting ready to talk about the reward when you go out.
Yeah. So and with gyms, so again, it's kind of you're trading risk and reward anytime you leave the house in a situation like this. And, based on all the things that I mentioned earlier, I think we can demonstrate that the risk is very low in our boutique gyms. We manage them very closely. We have very high level of control over the environment. We have a very strong sense of community. People aren't going to walk in there sick and get people ill who they work out with on a daily basis. And we know everybody who walks in and out, so contact tracing becomes very, very manageable. And, so risks are very low. And then the rewards, if you just need to break a sweat, you can run around the block. I've heard a lot of pushback on, hey, you know what, you can work out from home. Well, you're right, you can get your heart rate up, but there's so many other aspects that are positive for people about being in a gym. From a mental health aspect, we know our trainers know every single member personally and in depth. We have focus meetings where we meet with them one-on-one once a month, sometimes more frequently. We know about their eating disorders, any issues with anxiety and depression, maybe marital issues that they're having at home, self-esteem issues. Unfortunately, sometimes there's some suicidal tendencies that they share with us, maybe a recent loss of a loved one. And when those members are in the gym, our trainers can look at them and, we see red flags. And, the encouragement that they get, the feeling of support, the having a trainer and their peers push them, and, man, they come out of there feeling like $1 million. So the reward is off the charts. And that's just kind of the mental health. We all know that when you exercise your body. It builds your immune system. And in a pandemic like this, what could be more important than that?
It's kind of
we're
a
just
win.
asking that.
It's kind of a win-win situation for everybody involved, because if Sam Page has a meeting with you and you convince him to open up your gyms, he can then go, you know what, I talked to these guys, we're going to mitigate it. It's up to them to keep this thing clean. And then Sam Page, if something does happen, like if there's spikes in cases or whatever, he can say, see, I told you. And I think that, to be honest with you, gyms were the last thing that you could open besides nightlife and bars. So this could be a really important meeting today, is if he says, okay, we talked, we discussed, he convinced me, you guys are open for business. And then at that point, St. Louis now has the right to really kind of pop back open, don't you think?
Yeah, so the meeting's on Wednesday, and we fully expect the purpose of the meeting with Dr. Page and the health department is to gain an understanding of what their concerns are, and we already have put forward a proposal, but we're just kind of flying blind. We don't really know what their objection is to boutique fitness. We don't know if they just don't know how we're different, or they don't know how to define a definition to carve us off and manage us separately. We need to find that out. So we fully plan on cooperating and understanding their concerns and doing this in a very safe and responsible way.
And Ted, you mentioned you just made a great point about boutique fitness. Can you explain what is the difference between your gym versus somewhere like Club Fitness?
Yeah. So, and I don't want to say anything negative about Club Fitness. Those guys are doing a great job.
No, and I'm just using
there.
them as an example.
So how we're different is we're instructor-led. That's the primary difference. Our facilities are typically quite a bit smaller. On average, I'd say we're maybe 5,000 square feet. So it's a smaller environment. Typically, it's very well controlled. So you don't walk in off the street randomly into one of our classes, or we call them camps at Burn Boot Camp. You have to sign up in advance, so we know who's there. We can limit capacity based on just only letting certain people sign up, a certain number of people. And then when they walk in, they don't just go pick up dumbbells and start doing curls or push-ups. We put them in a designated spot, and then we manage them. The instructor orchestrates the entire process.
So it's a lot more like personal training.
It is. It's essentially, we always say it's personal training in a group setting. So we have a much higher degree of control, and that's really how we're different.
Ted, how many more minutes do you have with this? Do you got to go, or do you have time for one more question at least?
No, I have plenty of time.
Okay, I'm curious. What if you get into this meeting with Sam Page and they're like, well, we just don't feel comfortable yet, and he says you can't open up? What are you going to do? Same thing? You're going to put the word back out? Because right now there is no, and I repeat, no open date for any gyms in St. Louis County.
Yeah, that's a great question. We talked about that, myself and the other owners of those gyms locally. We talked about kind of contingency. We're very hopeful. So there have been, we just found this out this past weekend, there have been a few exceptions made by the health department for a couple of gyms in the area. And the tone of the call when they reached out to me yesterday was, we want to find a working solution. So I feel pretty confident that gyms are open in Kansas City, right? They're just a few hours away. It's within our state, very similar kind of metropolitan makeup, reasonably similar impact from COVID. So I think there's a lot of, I don't think Dr. Page is going to be like going out on a limb by letting us open. I feel like there's no major political risks associated with it. We just have to find some common ground and define things in a way that makes sense for everyone.
How interesting is that? So are you guys putting together are you representing all the other gyms in the area? It seems like if you're going in for this meeting, you would be representing, say, a Club Fitness, or, hey, is Vic Tanny around anymore? It seems like you guys would be representing all of the clubs.
Well, so yeah, I'm representing the boutique fitness group, and again, not to say anything negative about the big box gyms. It's just they're different, and they're going to have to come to different terms with the county on how they manage their process. When you have a smaller facility and you're instructor led, it's a completely different ball game in terms of the control you have, and therefore your process is going to look a lot different than, say, a club fitness. So, yeah, with the group that I'm involved in is strictly boutique. We're all instructor-led. We're all much smaller than a big box gym, and we feel like our criteria should be different, and we should be granted a reasonably short timeline in which to open.
Gotcha.
And Ted, I guess I'll go ahead and throw this out there if you listen to the show. I'm not a huge fan of Sam Page and some of the decisions he's made, so I hope everything works out the best for you. You know, I hope that he has some sense here and understands that you guys offer a little bit different, scenario of a gym than just like a normal, where you can go in and there's 150 people working out. So I hope everything works out for you. And please let us know on Thursday. I'd be curious to see what transpires on Wednesday at your meeting.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, we've got, close to 1,700 amazing members that are dying to get back in the gym. We have 65 employees that really want to get back to work. We have 3 locations open. We're opening another one in Kirkwood. I mean, this whole pandemic has really kind of hurt what we're doing. But, the only way to fix that is to get out there and start helping our members feel good again, get our employees back to work. And we're hopeful about our meeting with Dr. Page.
That's Ted Theodopoulos, the owner of Burn Boot Camp in St. Louis, having a meeting with Dr. Page coming up on Wednesday, the St. Louis County Executive. Hey, thanks again for trusting us at Fox 2 to tell your story on Friday, and thanks for joining us on our show this morning.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
All right. We'll keep in touch with Ted as he has his meeting on Wednesday to see if and when these gyms can open up. I mean, I know sometimes we have to be careful about what we say and what we do because we all have different likes and things of that nature. I'm very tied to gyms.
Yeah.
I like to work out. I'm sorry. I see even before we went into, quote, quarantine, when the word got, people were walking around with water, with the spray bottles, the sanitizer bottles, and cleaning up after themselves. Right. I'm sorry. Gyms are more healthy than these grocery stores. There's no doubt in my mind. I'll talk with any doctor all day long about it. We'll talk facts. They need a date. These gyms need a date. They got
and not
to
just the
get
boutique ones either. I tried to bring up the Club Fitness and
the boutique ones should have never been closed.
That's right.
And they're not in some states.
To me, the boutique ones. I'm sorry, Eric, to cut you off, but to me, I think the boutique type gyms that offer the special services. How can you cut something like that off? I mean, that's like a private organization that's not really open to the public because you have to have a subscription to go there, correct?
Right. Yeah.
Membership.
It's a business. It's a business.
It's a business license. And the county holds those business licenses.
But you don't have, and I'm not by no means somebody like Gold's Gym, something like that has a lot of people that's going there.
Well, some of those small gyms, and there were some small training facilities in St. Charles County, they asked, now Steve Ellman asked them to close, but some didn't. I know of one gym,
right.
I shouldn't say gym, a training boutique that did not close during that in St. Charles County.
Yeah.
Obviously, his place is open in O'Fallon, Missouri, Ted's that is, but the ones in the county are not right
I'm
now.
interested in going to a gym. I'll be honest, I've never been a member at a gym, and some of the things he said kind of interest me a little bit. He's like, you come out of there, you work out in a gym, you have a personal relationship with the trainer,
right.
And when you come out of there at the end of the day, you feel like $1 million. I'm thinking,
there you go. Hey, get those endorphins kicking, bud. There we go.
Wait a minute.
We'll get Chris at a gym.
And, it's interesting because you would have thought that, have you ever considered bringing your own gym in your garage? Have you ever thought about buying your own gym at this point? So what people thought, and there's a story here on Slate, what Zoom meetings are, they thought Zoom would be the way of the future for businesses. It's turning out not to be the case. It's turning out that people are sick of it and they want to get back to work. And I'm talking about cubicle work. People are sick of these virtual meetings, and they say there's nothing like a face-to-face to do business, right? So the way that we thought we were going to change society, hey, this is a time that you can go build a gym in your garage. No, they don't want that. They want to get in their car, they want to go to boot camp training, and they want to be.
A lot of people do, but I think it goes both ways. I mean, there are a lot of people who do work out at home. There's a lot of people who don't want to go to the gym, who didn't want to before, but then there's a lot of people that do. Same with Zoom meetings. I mean, it works for some, but it doesn't work for everyone.